head to meet back up with the group.
Hey, hold on, guys.
I'm holding.
We are holding. What are we holding for?
Not getting any audio on stream. Just a second.
Dadgummit.
Yay, tech issues.
Does anyone hear my cat in the background crying because he's locked out of the room?
Do you hear
Nope.
my neighbor mowing their lawn?
Yes, and you're fairly breezy, Garrett.
Is it? I tried to, I made a cover. I'll try to move everything. Let's try and make this better.
So you're not coming through.
No, I should be now. I had my video
If the
muted while I was
dadgum
switching
makes
to
it
these.
calm down,
Zero audio.
There should be audio now. I feel like I think I know what happened.
There's audio on the stream.
How we're getting volume here. Okay, we're good.
Is that better?
All right. So a part of the technical issues, but I think we have both audio and video now. Yes.
Do we know why you're echoing?
Probably open
Because
doors.
Wes walked in the room and opened my door, and because technology just can't work properly.
Of course.
All right. Are we still echoing now?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool.
Did the breeziness go away a little bit?
Yes, that is much better, Garrett.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better, Jay. You're not drowning everybody out. We can see you.
Yeah, we know!
If that's your mom, tell her hi.
I'll tell him later.
Okay.
There's no audio.
All right, so let's try this again without the oops.
I know.
Okay. So, how much audio did they get? How much did they miss?
It started with, hold on, there's no audio.
Good boy. Shall we jump all the way back, or shall I just give the summary and we'll jump back in again?
I mean, we can just start with their conversation, I guess.
Let's do that.
And action. Start from
Luckily,
page
we wrote this
35,
all out, so we just...
please.
We gotta
Right.
start over, man. The script was wrote as a one take only.
All right, so y'all are at the library. You have just stepped outside into the heat of the day. The sun is beaming down on you. You're starting to get sweat roll down your back. Have your conversation. Go.
It's also slightly windy.
I'd be very interested to find out what is in the restricted section, particularly in regards to if there's any redacted information from the books that we were finding marked out. Deja vu. There are a few legal means by which we might acquire access to the restricted section. However, I was wondering if those fail, if you might be able to aid me in sneaking JoJo in for a peek.
Oh, darling. All you needed to tell me is there were some restricted books that I could look at. You didn't need much more of an excuse. Yes, I will help.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You don't need to get in trouble till we need to.
that's what the line was.
something about his fae, and you don't want to make sure that it leaves
I
again.
was distracted by all the fantasy airships flying around.
Yeah.
To fly today.
All right, audience caught up. We'll head back to the tavern.
Yeah.
On our way, I will. I should mention. I'm sorry. I was very hungry yesterday after a whole adventure. Halberd never did buy me dinner. We had a moment while we were at the Golden Cog where your name might have come up. So I just want to let you know beforehand. If someone refers to you as Duke Castor Valsoren, that's the reference. Anyway, so Doran, I was thinking.
What? Yeah.
I was thinking if we want to practice your Inferno a little bit more, we can do limericks. I've got some dwarven limericks, or we could try a couple stanzas of the Ascension of Moradin. Do you have a preference?
Perhaps in Moradin, that might be a bit easier. Let's try that.
So I will start a couple of the stanzas in Infernal.
Okay. Doran, Rye, go ahead and make a performance check. Doran, make an intelligence check.
So you're picking on me again. All right, blue, red, or the metal ones. I can't pick.
Blue.
Blue for blueness.
He doesn't get any advantage because he's familiar with it.
You want to go ahead and do your roll first, or shall I?
I'm trying so hard, Garrett.
All right, Rye, what'd you get?
Dirty 20.
All right. Doran?
3. That's with the negative modifier.
I feel like K-Store has a better chance of learning Infernal than Doran does at this point.
Yeah.
Kazator, go ahead and make an intelligence check at disadvantage.
Natural 20.
And
16 plus intelligence. 0. 16.
16. As Rye is giving this elaborate performance, almost trying to connect with Doran, Doran is just really struggling to get this. He's not having a whole lot of success. Kazator, on the other hand, is listening to this conversation that's trying to take place and
Me know I'm big smart.
just starting to pick up a couple of words. Things are starting to make sense.
Jeez.
So Kazator, do you have any points already for learning Infernal, having picked any of it up on the road?
Just when we were traveling and kind of sitting down together in the evenings.
I taught them all basic phrases.
Yeah.
Right. So go ahead and mark down another point for having made progress with learning the language. Doran
Sweet.
hasn't gotten any yet, as far as I'm aware. We'll keep
Doran, you
Oh,
got the
might
one
have
that I
been-
taught you, right?
Huh?
No.
You got the curse words,
Oh,
and did you get... You only know
That's
curse
all
words.
I got.
Oh,
He's
All
got
I
the
can
curse
do is say
words.
Curse words.
That's all you need. That's mostly what Infernal is.
I'm insulted. I just feel it in the ether. I'm insulted.
By what? The racist Dragonborn? I don't know why.
Is it what he said, or is it the fact that I'm just too dumb to learn?
No, darling.
Soliex or Albi?
I'm not going to be called Albie. I made that mistake. I realize it now.
All right, so as y'all go ahead and you're walking through the city streets, meeting up with your fellows at the Beggar's Banquet, you arrive and you're a bit later than you had actually said you'd be there. But you do get there safely. The three of y'all, Halberd and Val and Solyax, what have y'all been doing in the meantime?
Well, probably eating lunch, because that's what we said we were going to do, and waiting. I mean, how much later is it? Are we talking like 1 or like 5?
Like 1 to 1:30 in that
Okay,
range.
that's not bad. That's not bad. It's a big city that could get lost. So, after we have arrived, what were we doing this afternoon? We were...
Probably checking. I'd check in with the bartender to find out where we could procure items of intriguing possibilities.
Oh, also, we need to go talk. We need to go see the Tempest Shadow, which is a tavern. Because that is a possible location. Yeah, that's what we need this afternoon. That's a possible location for Fiskin. So, he may also have advice on what we could take as
Gifts.
Yeah, trinkets. What am I thinking of?
Tribute.
Tribute. Thank you. Yes, that could be a possibility. He might have some advice for us at the Tempest Shadow. It's actually a good point. I'm going to go ask, during that time I would have asked around, in the tavern to see if anybody had known the location of said tavern.
You ask around, and there's a couple of people having lunch, probably about half a dozen all told, who have come in during this time. And you do find out pretty easily that the Tempest Shadow is in the Old Quarter. You were actually not very far from it earlier today. It's just a little bit north of the Temple District, almost to where it meets the Heights.
Perfect. All right. So that's what, a 30-minute walk?
Probably closer to an hour from where you're at.
All right, cool. Well, as soon as I get back, I'll be like, "Whoa, wonderful! No time to waste. We should leave."
And I was looking for information on trade posts.
Okay. Pretty easily. You're talking to Soren. He recommends for general goods, you can try the Golden Fox. For anything more magical, you'll want Augury and Alchemy.
Augury and Alchemy, I'm assuming, is the name of the place?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, then we'll just sit here munching, as we are currently doing.
All right. Not too long later, the other three of your party do come in.
Right. Well, we have a pretty good location on the tavern, where Fiskin could be located. So, if you are ready, we should head that way. It'll take us about probably an hour traveling through town to get there. So,
Do we all need to go to see this guy?
I think might be beneficial if we all went, just to, that way we all get the information and to keep us from splitting up again.
Helps
I'd like
narratively.
that to be relayed. Our efforts at the library were not fruitful in finding the information we need, but possibly finding out where we can find it. But it is in a restricted area that I need to go speak with someone to gain access to.
Kistor, who would you need to
whatever I
speak
do.
with?
The librarian DM mentioned a person with a legal sounding title that I thought I wrote down and I can't find, so I obviously did not write down. Do you remember who that was? She said you could go talk to this person to get access to the...
They may have mentioned the High Priestess of the Temple of Arathis, who is the main law judge, I guess, in town, or any of the upper level priests of Ayun who they work very closely with the library in general.
Okay.
And there are a number of other legal avenues that you could also pursue, but those are, I think, the ones that I mentioned.
Do you think you're as a journeyman that you would have access through your master or anything like that?
Potentially, yes. But I have to see one of these individuals and tout my title to get permission for entry.
Title other than Duke.
You are Duke Kistor, apparently.
Now, are you planning on only achieving this information through legal means, or are we going to go through a situation that we just got out of in Grimhold?
I mean, personally, I think it'd be much more entertaining if we just tread there a little bit in the night, give ourselves a little bit more time where we're not being observed, but...
I was just
And
talking
if I
about
might
getting this
just add-
legally. So yeah, so I have no idea why you would think I was going to do anything else.
You didn't have me with you in Grimhold, mate. Just wanted to point that out. So this could turn out vastly different than last time.
So, if we were to, as a collective, go see Fiskin,
I would like to point out very briefly, it went actually fairly well. I was completely successful in my endeavors. Please continue, Soviets.
if we were to all go see Fiskin together, and then perhaps you and Howard go, and maybe Miss Rye, go see about acquiring the information you so seek. Where was the...
Down with this.
Were you guys in the old quarter, or were you in the Heights?
Let me pull up handy old map here.
I don't think you can get into the Heights, because the Heights are the gated area, right?
We were in
I
the
don't know.
Stone Tower district.
Yes.
My dear friend Ryan,
How close
you
is
can
that
get
to the
into
old quarter?
anywhere.
It's
darling, I
Yeah,
east and
I
west
have.
halves. Yeah, complete opposite.
we're
Right.
tenuous friends.
I have
Because
some
we're in
very
Newpoint right now, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
We're in Newpoint, the tavern.
Yes,
That's where we entered with Newpoint. Okay.
and the southern part of it. Just a couple blocks away from the entrance to the city.
All right,
Yeah.
let's walk and talk towards the old quarter.
darling. If I had known you were coming this direction, we could have just stayed at the library a little bit longer.
Well, we're also going in two
Yes,
different
but-
directions from one another.
Remember, we don't want the new young buck here to just get inside people's heads and start saying things. So I think an object lesson in respect is much more well earned and deserved, even if it might mean a little bit more time.
Very well.
I was giving you a silent glance, like he feels like you're talking about him, but he's not entirely sure.
Okay, so let's all start heading towards. Where do you plan on acquiring this information that you need to gather in order to gain access to this restricted area?
Lauren, you said Ayun, or who was the head person for the city? The priestess of
The
which?
judge
Yeah.
is the leader of the Temple of Arathis.
Right.
She's the high priestess there, so you can petition for an audience with her.
I was planning on going to. I was thinking as it was mentioned. I remembered something about the title judge. But Ayun would obviously be my go-to.
But if you have to go see Ayun or Arathis, which is in the temple district, if they are in their temples, the temple district is in the old quarter, which is where we have to go to anyways.
Yes.
This is true.
So, if we have to go there anyways, we might as well head there, see Fiskin. I don't imagine a conversation with Fiskin will last very long. He either can tell us things that we may want to take with us, or tell us nothing. And then we can go see about these other two temples and see if we can't gain an audience there.
I mean, it might take a little bit of time just to loosen its tongue. I don't know, but I think that you got to keep all that on the table, because you can't just go around cutting everybody's head off or their tail off as much as we might want to. But you're intimidating, and we have a friend who can talk a lot.
I can also be
get
very
information.
persuasive
So-
as well. Thank you.
Yes, you can be, with an axe and smashing somebody's face in the ground with your foot.
I've also been known to persuade people without having to use force. Thank you.
Yes, threat of violence, mate, is still not what you necessarily want.
Not true.
I agree. I like threat of violence. I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying we might not always need to use that.
But I'm good at both. I'm good at both intimidating and persuading.
Through intimidation, I know. So, yes.
Very humble.
Anyways, we're walking towards the old quarter.
I'll just kind of pat Celiax on the gauntlet and be like, yes, darling, of course you are.
So patronizing. I love it.
My character sheet says I'm proficient in both of those.
She has seen none of it.
So, are you
My mommy said I was
good at stealth or what?
No, because Val's not proficient in stealth. I am. At least in persuasion. I'm not proficient in stealth. But I'm good because I'm proficient. Val is
That's
not.
very good.
This is
I
going
don't-
to be an eternal discussion, isn't
I am
it?
dying.
No, proficiency does not mean good.
Come on.
Might I also suggest,
Please.
as we pursue this, that it may not necessarily be wise for the people who are potentially going to be arriving in the dead of night in the library to also be the ones broaching a conversation about trying to enter it. Just in case they find out we were present.
Well,
I will
Then
be
let's go-
quiet and sit on the
let's go
sidelines.
have a discussion
That's-
with Fiskin. And then perhaps, Miss Ra, you take point on their discussion with the leaders of these said temples.
Well, then that's the thing. I need to be the one, because of my relation to Corvian, to talk to the priestess of Ayun, but I would not be entering the temple. I could either be seeing through Jojo, or if a party member needed to go in, I assume that would probably be Halbert.
Are you talking? Wait. You don't need to go
Me?
into the
Mr.
temple
Sneak.
or into
Why
the library?
exactly?
I don't need to go into the library because I
Okay,
can.
you said temple, and that was confusing. I got you. You don't need to go into the library.
I don't need
I'm
to
with
go
you.
into the library because I could send JoJo.
So we could send JoJo and Hopper next to the library.
JoJo would be the ideal because then no one's face is seen. There's just a rogue animal in there, and you can.
A rogue and an animal.
Yes. And if a person needs to go in because there are things that JoJo cannot do, then I assume that would be more Halbert's area of expertise than mine.
Not a thought.
I
As
would
well.
like to
Instead
take
of us
some magic caster
walking
with me.
as we have been doing, is there not like fantasy taxis we could take?
You actually took one to the library.
They're rickshaws.
Solix, my friend, I understand we've been on a long journey, but you've eaten a lot of turkey legs since then, and I think the exercise will do you well.
You need to get your steps in.
My steps are fine. I was just trying to save us time. But if you wish to
And waste our money.
The few little carts you have seen are narrow, and there are no livestock that carry them or lead them. They're all drawn by person. One of them would fit one of you, so unless you wanted to get a caravan of them going.
I mean,
No. See, that's
Look
what
at-
we pay
look at
the
you, my
guys,
friend.
and we have them
Sully.
race. See which one wins.
I think we could have a caravan of one of us to one of the carts, but it might, just with your strength and excessive muscles and armor and everything else, it might take 3 of them to one of you.
You know, Howard,
So-
I don't appreciate you patronizing me.
I'm not patronizing. It's patronizing if it's rude. I'm just being honest. There's a difference.
Well, then don't you have a little pony that she could use?
I do, actually. And I do believe we are still within a mile of him, and I can summon him with my brain.
Yes, you would still be within a mile of him. Speaking of, where did you stable your mounts?
Probably, I thought we had discussed that we had turned them over to the tavern keeper
Okay.
that when we arrived here.
I didn't remember
I don't
whether
know
you
if
had
the-
or not, or whether you've been paying for their upkeep there or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I remember
Yeah, no, we-
mentioned
yeah,
that,
we
but
said
I don't
when we
know
got
if
there,
he's
we
keeping
stayed
them
there.
there somewhere else. But we put them in the tavern keeper said he could take care of them for. I don't know how much he charges for it,
Okay.
but I do believe that happened.
Yeah.
All right.
And darling, just to clarify, what I said was patronizing.
Everything you say is patronizing.
Well, yes, this is true.
But that also could be honest as well. So don't pick on the elf or the elfling or whatever you want to call yourself.
Don't believe
I believe we just call her a liar, actually.
The librarian, sorry. The librarian, you forgot a couple syllables there.
Yes, Madam Librarian.
words are not sweet
Is
existence.
your nickname Marion? Curious.
Well, she's Marion, the Madam Librarian. Oh wow.
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh, Lord.
I feel like
This is
We
going to
have
be
a
a long
music
walk,
band
isn't it?
For the sake of brevity.
I thought we were leaving Whitebrand.
I didn't.
our goal
So
is
what-
to stay here for
So,
the
how good is your history?
Alright guys, let's go. Without too much fuss, you'll go ahead and you make
Never
it
mind.
pretty easily following the main streets to the Temple District. You do pass the gold
Sounds
box
great.
on the way up there, which is where Celiax had actually paid for his multiple pouches the day before.
Yep.
The Temple of Iron is well marked and fairly prominent within the district. It's probably within the 10 or 15 largest temples.
And we are so essentially where we need to get for the tavern is at the far end, so it's more economically for time to hit the temple than tavern, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's do that. So first stop will be the Temple of Ioun, and then the Temple of Erathis, and then the Tempest Shadow. Looking at what we know of the
What was the second one? Ioun and then what?
Erathis. That's where the judge was, right?
Erathis?
No, I
I
believe
don't,
that's where
we
the
don't
judge
need,
was.
if all goes well with Ioun, then we don't need to go to Erathis, and Erathis is more difficult to get into.
Perfect. Well, we'll start with Ioun then.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Stork, you want to lead the way on this?
I suppose I will head.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I have. Actually, you know what? This might take a while. We'll come back to this. Never mind.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. Sorry. Continue.
So the Temple of Ayun is actually more of a temple compound. You approach the front gate, and it opens into a wide courtyard, covered on all three sides in a U shape, where you're coming in and you're facing the buildings. There are awnings and coverings to shade most of the area there. You are sort of beckoned in with a wide array of colorful mosaic patterns, and as you study and as you look at them, you realize, especially Solyax, you recognize these are sort of epic tales, histories, scenes from various battles fought and discoveries made. The main temple area, the main chapel area, is directly ahead. Where do y'all want to go?
There was nobody at the gate.
Nobody's at the gate. You hear a quiet chanting from inside the chapel ahead. This is the heat of the day. You're getting into the hottest part of the day. And even on your walk here, the streets were relatively bare. It seems most people are in buildings or under cover of some kind.
Okay. I guess we'll head towards the main portion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll stick with Casator and follow him.
You come into the chapel, and it's fairly dark in. It takes your eyes a moment to adjust as you come from the bright sunlight into this shaded interior, but you're greeted immediately with a welcome coolness, a respite from the heat of the day. There are a number of low benches, and there are a few little writing desks, it seems, scattered throughout the room along the walls. And at the very front of the building, there's a small altar, and about a dozen people are kneeling in prayer as the leader, the priestess at the front, is leading them in sort of a call and response pattern. Who's proficient in religion or would have familiarity with the rites of Ayun?
Proficient in religion.
With Ayun, I think I've only got my bardic half proficiency in religion.
I've got history. I don't know if that would.
Not with this particular case, no.
Okay.
What was that, Wes?
I died. I was getting it restarted, so I'm almost there.
We can't hear you, Wes.
I have religion.
Okay. So those of y'all who are proficient in religion, go ahead and roll with disadvantage. Kazator, because you have the familiarity with Ayun, go ahead and just make a straight roll.
With disadvantage?
Yes.
19.
No. Well, disadvantage is only an 8.
Okay.
For religion is the roll, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 8.
Okay. So Val, the rites that are going on here are similar in some ways to some that you've studied or heard before. They are beseeching the goddess Ayun to send her presence to increase wisdom and intelligence, to aid in their studies as they prepare to begin some sort of class, some sort of study program. It seems like this particular session of communal prayer and worship sort of is about to finish, and they're about to split and go their own ways for more individual studies.
Looking around, how many, I guess, priests, acolytes, people who work here, how many of those do I see?
You see 3 acolytes who are in the process of setting out ink and paper and organizing the areas for these disciples of Ayun to come and begin their studies. And then you see the priestess at the front, who seems to be the highest ranking individual in this building so far.
Okay. Just kind of point that out to to Kistor.
Val, I'm rather curious. What is Ioun, the god or goddess? Is it the goddess? I'm sure I'd be able to tell coming in.
Yeah.
Is it the goddess?
How much would Val know?
She is.
Ioun is a goddess. There are not necessarily images of her face or form around. Her symbols are more prevalent, and her symbol is a stylized eye.
Fair enough.
Cassitor or Val, what exactly is Ioun?
She's commonly referred to as the knowing mistress. She is the goddess of knowledge and other, but you would find her predominantly in keepings of libraries and places of history and lore.
Do you ascribe Cassitor to such a deity, or do you have deep familiarity with her? Because it seems like you know quite a bit.
I am very familiar with her. She is not. I do not worship her. I do not have the relationship with her that Val or Sulyax have to their deities.
But you do know about her. Quite a bit, it seems. Remind me to ask you more about that later.
Still can't hear you, Wes.
Very well. You're muted.
You're muted.
You haven't been to your world yet, Cassitor, but is she prominent there?
As here, there are deities are prominent on my world. Not only Ioun. Ioun is one that is the one specifically that I have the most familiarity with.
Does that have anything to do with your celestial nature?
It does. Yes.
So are you a distant descendant of hers in some way, or just close by celestial?
Not of Ioun directly, but my celestial ancestor was in service of Ioun.
So it's more familiar.
Yes.
But you don't
Like immediate family?
like her?
No, I like her very much.
Okay.
She is a good deity, and I respect what she stands for. I just don't. I do not worship any particular single deity.
Understandable.
As in our conversation, Soyex.
Exactly.
Just Hector worships himself.
What do you say?
I was making
He said-
a joke. Don't worry about
He
it.
said you worship yourself.
Oh, wow.
The only celestial Kistor likes is himself.
And JoJo.
So,
Oh wait, Dagger.
As y'all are having this discussion, the priestess seems to close this section of the prayer, and the students or disciples seem to they rise from their seated position and they scatter throughout the rooms, each of them approaching an individual writing or work area that has been prepared with a light and paper and ink for them to begin whatever individual studies they're working on. The priestess herself stays at the front of the room for at least a few more moments. What do y'all want to do?
I would approach her unless anyone else does something or...
Nope, you go right ahead. I will.
You go right ahead.
I will follow behind you, in case, for whatever purpose, having someone familiar with the deities of this world could aid in some manner. But by all means, I'll let you run point on this.
I would like to just take note as he approaches if it draws any sort of cultural dissonance. Like, is this like the manner of worship? Some priests in some places you're just able to walk up and it's all good. In some places you need a little bit more respect and position and purpose. So I'd just like to see how everyone responds and kind of looks and reacts to him just walking up to the priest or high priest, whichever one it is.
Okay. So Quetzaltor starts walking up towards the priestess, and as he gets closer, he can get a better view of her. She is a middle-aged elven woman, sun-kissed skin, sandy brown hair braided away from her face. She's wearing a formal maroon tunic and robes, belted at the waist, and there's a symbol of iron set in a necklace at the base of her throat. She turns to greet Quetzaltor as he approaches. Good tidings, sir. And how are you this day?
I will incline my head and say, good afternoon. May her knowledge guide you. And I will pull out a symbol of Iyun. That is not your average symbol of Iyun. It is very beautifully made platinum symbol of Iyun with engravings and an amethyst where the eye is.
Flash that bling.
Wow. All right then.
Quetzaltor flexing his.
Her eyes go just a little bit wider, and she inclines her head a little bit deeper. Good afternoon to you as well. Please, how may I be of service?
She recognized your swag.
My swag, Nick, recognize swag. I would say
We're all white.
my name is Quetzaltor. My companions and I have journeyed here. I am a seeker of knowledge, and I have been to the library and seen the Knowing Mistress's mark on the library here, and was very interested by the contents of the library. Had a wonderful day perusing the selections available to the public, and was told that you were someone I might speak to in order to gain access to the restricted area. I am a journeyman under Master Corvian from Grimhold, and I was wondering if there might be something that I could do to gain access.
Certainly. As a journeyman under Master Corian, you would have full rights to go and continue your studies in the arcane tomes in the restricted section. You will forgive me just a moment if I will confirm, in fact, that you are who you say you are.
Certainly, not a problem. And might I have your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, certainly. My name is Lanith, and you are...
Quetzaltor.
Quetzaltor. A pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Excuse me for just one moment. And she inclines her head again. She takes a few steps away, and you see her hands move, and she mutters under her breath a little bit. And this is actually very familiar to you. You have seen your friend Val cast this same spell multiple times. She speaks under her breath. It's hard for you to hear, but she seems to be sending a message to someone else. A few moments pass. She waits in silence and then inclines her head again and turns back to you. And well, everything does seem to be in order. If you'll give me a few moments, I can prepare a written pass for you, and that should clear your way at the library.
That would be wonderful. I do appreciate it very much.
So did Quetzaltor just get a library card? Is that what I just heard?
Yep.
I got the exclusive all-access library card.
Ryan was
Got
just
that
a little
platinum
bit
card.
I'm
deflated.
super nerd.
A little bit of swag.
Love it.
Safe.
What did you say about
Nope.
Ryan?
She's a little deflated.
She wanted Book Heist?
Yes, she did.
That's amazing.
We can still go book heist.
I was going to say, I just have access. I'm still not allowed to take one, I'm sure.
Darling.
We
That
can
is
still.
my love language.
A few minutes pass,
Books are
and
stealing.
he brings you a piece of paper.
Yes.
It does appear to be a writ of passage, allowing you access to the restricted section of the library.
Add to inventory. Excellent. When she comes back and gives it to me, they're going inventory. Thank you so much for your aid in this, and I do have one more question for you.
Certainly.
I was heard a name while I was at the library that seemed to cause some raised eyebrows in connection to the mistress, the family Veritas. Are you familiar?
I'm not familiar with the family. Are you speaking of the Veritas Folio?
Say again, the Veritas what?
Folio.
Folio? Is that a name? Do I know the Veritas Folio? What's a
Folio, like a sheet, sheets of paper that have been sort of bound together but aren't quite a book.
Okay.
A folio.
Veritas Folio. Veritas Folio. Holy cow. Potentially. Is that something that's in the library?
It is. It was entrusted to our care some 4 years ago now. We were told we would know when it was time for it to be passed on.
Staring closely at Jordan.
Excellent. When I mentioned to the librarian, she seemed not to be as familiar as you. Is it possible that is in the area that I've just gained access to, that I could request to look at it there?
I'm quite certain, yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You've been most helpful. Casator as Jordan doesn't know how to end conversations.
Okay, thanks, bye!
Yeah, exactly.
I do have other business I must resume. Are there any other questions I may help you with?
Bailed out.
What did you say? Okay, out. I don't believe so. I think that will suffice for now, and I do appreciate all of the help that you have been.
It was my pleasure. May her light guide your studies.
Likewise. And I don't know.
As we turn around to leave, Casator, what exactly was that symbol you pulled out? Being someone who doesn't worship a deity, that's a very prominent symbol. Is that perhaps tied to your family, or do you just carry around fancy symbols of all the deities?
I have all of them.
Oh, well, I would love to see them.
Maybe another time.
Of course. So, are we going to go find your sister?
Anything's possible at this point.
Let's go talk to a half-elf and then head to a library.
All right.
The way.
Y'all emerge from the temple into the bright sunlight. It blinds you a little bit as you get out into the road.
Casator, do you know what time the library closes? Because would it be more advantageous for us to go to the library now? Because I have a feeling pubs and such places of drink and festivity probably remain open later into the night, potentially to console those who have not found what they were looking for in books.
You are correct. It definitely closes after dark, as we found out yesterday.
Well, how long would it take us? About, another hour to get to the library from here?
You're going to have to go back up through Artist Alley, and from Artist Alley into the Stone District around the large oasis in the center of the city. It's probably going to take you another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
So we should probably head there now.
Trying to pull up my map real quick. Would we be going past the library to get to my brain's blanking on it, the bar we're going to anyway? Yeah.
No.
They're on opposite sides.
We're closer to the bar than we are to the library. But as Halbert pointed out, the bar will be open much later than the library.
Yeah, y'all are currently about 20 minutes walk or so away from the Tempest Shadow. It's between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon. You see very few people out. It is stinking hot outside.
Books. That's right. We're in like a desert.
Yeah, well, then we should probably head to the books then.
Well, again, we could, if you needed to go talk to this individual who might have relevant information, a few of us could go to the library. I may be the only one allowed into the restricted access with this card anyways.
Fair enough. Well, I suppose...
I'll roll with you anyways, mate. I think it'd be fun.
Yes, darling. I would be very interested myself.
I mean, I'm all about going with you because, I hope that maybe one day we can reunite you with your family. So let's go.
I'm not so much interested with the family as just the sister, but yes.
She is family.
She is.
Emily's family, and I think it might be fun to watch the rest of the reunion as well.
Okay. Well, let's go to the library.
Yeah. All here for you, man.
Take a look in a book.
Reading Rainbow.
I'm waiting for us to hit a library called the Reading Rainbow. Lauren would do that to us.
Between the Lions?
Yeah, between the lines. I just keep thinking of Arthur's, like, getting access isn't hard when you've got a library card.
Dude, that was such a great episode. It was like an episode of 3 songs. The Brain doing Jekyll and Hyde was so great.
Oh my god.
That was really good.
All right, to the library.
All right, you'll head to the library. Heading south a little ways out of the old quarter to come around the bottom hook of the oasis, and then following that pretty closely to northeast, you come to the library. By the time you get here, I want everybody to go ahead and make a Constitution check. Solak can go ahead and make it at advantage because he is resistant to fire.
So we're tiefling.
Toasty day out.
Was that a check or a saving throw?
Saving throw.
So we're tiefling, so I would as well.
Yes. If you're resistant to fire, make the saving throw at disadvantage. Constitution.
Since we're walking real close to Solix, do we
This
get
is
any
a
type of
disadvantage,
plus?
Lauren?
No, straight roll.
Well, roll on. I rolled a 1 and a 2.
Oh.
I got a natural 20.
Hey!
All right. Let's do this a little bit more organized. On my screen,
Everybody
so
shut
it
up.
makes sense for me. Val, what did you get?
25.
That's a pass. Silyax?
That'd be an 8.
That is a fail. Rye?
20.
Success. Doran?
Natural 20 plus stuff.
Awesome. Success.
Yeah.
Albert?
15.
That is a success. And Kazator?
16.
Success. Awesome. Those of y'all who failed,
That's
take one
just
level of
me.
exhaustion.
Perfect. None of my dice are rolling well. This is awesome.
Solyax, you're looking a bit tired. I think you should have taken Halbert up on the stagecoach.
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Three stagecoaches, mate.
I didn't know Dragonborn could sweat, darling.
Your
I don't
scales
know
do
if you know
glisten
that.
in the sun, Solyax.
Those
sparkles
of
in the
you
sun.
who
He's
are
a
walking
vampire.
next to him,
It's a nice
you
tan
feel
for
the
you.
heat almost radiating off of his body, the light just shining and reflecting off of his scales as they
It's like he's made of
I would like to take a little bit.
I'm
of
also
my
wearing
water
massive armor.
skin, and I'd like to just flick a few drops of my water from my water
I'm wearing
skin
armor too.
onto his flesh and see if it sizzles and smokes.
just a little bit. It doesn't entirely just splash sizzle away, but there's a little bit of a hiss as it hits his skin.
I'm gonna hand my water skin to him and say, "Hey, if you need this, mate, just feel free."
Everything's fine. Oh, for the record, everybody within 10 feet of me also have to add 4 to a saving throw. Just so you know. You're welcome.
I was kind of hoping I had
That would-
like a.
So, wow, with that 4, you gave me a 30.
You're welcome.
No, wait, 31.
Dang.
That's so
Nice.
stupid.
So you all get to the library, and the coolness of the
Yes,
library
that roll's
is a
gonna be
welcome
one.
relief from the heat outside.
I will walk in and find the librarian at the desk, I guess.
Okay.
As he walks in, I'm going to reach over. Darling, don't forget that you have an elven scribe that you would like to bring in with you.
You read my
And a
mind.
bodyguard who needs to be with you at all times.
All right, well, you do that. Sully, come here. I have a thought, and I want to see your idea on it. And I go to look for that book I found earlier.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it this way. Casator, you
Yes.
approach the desk, and there is a different librarian manning the desk today than there was yesterday.
Awesome.
It is a dark-skinned elven or half-elven female who smiles at you pleasantly as you approach.
Aren't we in the same day? I'm just wanting to be clarify.
Excuse me, yes.
Yeah.
But it's after lunch, so it's still a different
Yeah.
shift.
Just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure.
You're right. Tons of time has been wibbly wobbly with the quarantine. But the shift has changed. There's a separate or a different individual there, a half-elven female with dark hair pulled back in a low ponytail away from her face, and she smiles at you as you approach.
Say, good afternoon. I have come seeking entrance into, I guess, the restricted area. It doesn't have a name or like a sign up. Restricted area, and I'll hold out my library card.
Certainly. The documentation, let me see. And she takes it from you and reads over it fairly quickly. Thank you very much, sir. You are allowed one additional guest to peruse with you. Who is, and she sort of looks over your shoulder, who is going to enter with you?
This lovely elven woman here will be my plus one.
Very well. If you'll let me see your hand for just a moment.
And I will, casually reach it out.
So she takes your hand and flips it over so she has the back of your hand and stamps a little stamp on the back of your hand that has the date and time on it. Thank you very much. And you, sir?
I will give her my hand.
And she
I would
stamps
like
the back
to-
of your hand also.
So she's about to stamp. Can I just like put my hand in front, like over his as she stamps?
Make a sleight of hand check.
Yay!
Jeez.
This is like...
We're all gonna get kicked out of the library.
Oh please! Oh please!
Albert,
No, I want to go to the library.
25.
Uh.
Okay. What did you get?
25.
Oh, I was thinking she had a 19. So you come and you kind of bump his toe a little bit, and your hand slides right over his as the stamp is coming down on it. You get stamped, and she looks up and sort of has a look on her face. Says, "Very well, the two of you may enter the library."
Darling,
So much.
I believe that.
Oh, I'm sorry, the pass is only good for one guest. I'm afraid these two have taken the stamps for the day. And receive another pass.
Oh my
I don't want to hear anybody say crap about any of my moves for the rest of this campaign.
That was very rude.
Well, I just understand, Casator, that we can't play favorites here, and I don't understand I'm just sorry. Just things happen sometimes the way they do. But do you want me to look for anything specifically for you? I can. I'm going to lean in and whisper into his ear. Do you have a friend you want me to take in with me?
Yes, myself.
Oh, I asked that earlier too. I thought I was going to go in with you.
I don't believe you can get the book that I need because you are not me.
We can arrange that.
I'm sorry. That would, in fact, be a violation of the rules of the house. You do realize I am standing right here still.
Now, my comment about taking somebody in was very quietly in his ear. I would like to just remind.
Yes, that part was, but the in what's the word I'm looking for?
No.
That you could perhaps make take his appearance and get a book taking his identity.
Overrides the fact that Homeboy rolled up with
I'm
the
not trying to
authorization
take
with his name on it, but you know.
Not trying to take any type of book out, man. I think libraries are very good for compiling and maintaining information. Why would I ever think of ripping out or redacting or doing something of the type of information? That just seems atrocious and horrific.
Can I insight check her response while he's doing that?
Sure, make an insight check. She sort of starts giving you a stink eye and is like, indeed, one who would think even of damaging such a book or a book in such a way is horrendous.
They are probably the scum and the filth of society.
15.
Oh, I must agree. What was that?
15.
Okay. She seems fairly honest. Like, she's agreeing very much with what Halbert is saying. That those who would damage a book, he would limit this information, would be just, that's an awful act. The library is there to share knowledge.
I will pop in on that conversation and be like, yes, darling, it is most unfortunate. We came by earlier looking for something different among your genealogies and your histories and found 20 years worth of genealogies just ripped out of a book.
Oh, that is... Oh, yes, Sabina did tell me about that. It's such awful news. She took the book in question, I believe, over to the Temple of Ayun to see if they had some means of restoring it. I mean, it's so tragic when knowledge is damaged like that. It's lost in ages.
Gotta pull a Dr. Strange and fix that book.
Yes, darling.
Just out of curiosity, Rye is an illusion, but does the stamp show up in her hand?
Yes, it would. It would still show up.
The illusion is not really most of my body, just select parts of it.
But I mean, if she stamps an illusion, it's not...
It depends on the type of illusion, because if it is a true sense or something like that, I imagine it would show up with that.
It depends on the type of illusion, and it depends on the type of stamp.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the fact that the stamp overrides the fact that Homeboy rolled up with the actual, like, written thing of his name, that he gets to go in the door. I'm fighting for you, man.
I look at her and say, my dear, and I'll hold up my thing. I am a journeyman for Master Corian of Grimhold, and my name is on this. I would request that possibly you remove this hooligan from the library and...
by all means, remove my servant from the library. He doesn't need to be here.
Consider letting in the one who brought the documentation.
Certainly, I do fully believe that it is your right to enter the restricted section. Unfortunately, the pass is only good for 2 stamps. These stamps are what do permit entrance, and I cannot give another stamp unless one is removed. Your friend here does seem quite insistent on going to the back, and that is something that you will have to solve amongst yourselves. I am pleased to send back whichever 2 of you and she gestures to the three of you all standing here. You wish to ultimately have the stamps to go back. I'm not going to step in.
It appears to be permanent, my friend.
I cast minor illusion and make his stamp go away.
Casator pulls out a dagger. Play that skin off.
There is a brief flickering of the illusion. The stamp seems to vanish for just a moment, and then there's a brief maroon glow from the back of his hand, and it reappears.
Oh, come on, stupid magic stamps.
Magic. But
She holds up
Jojo bites off his hand. No.
a piece of cloth. She says, "I can remove it."
Oh.
wait,
I
what
cannot
does she
do
have
so
in her hand?
against his will.
Did she just hold up a razor blade? Is that what you just said?
No, a cloth.
'Cause I was gonna say I'm about to take issue with this.
Darling, would we be able to do something where perhaps my one friend could come in for a little bit and then he leaves and the other one comes in for a little bit?
Unfortunately, the stamp will lose its magic once it is past the entrance.
Man, it's gonna be
That's
crazy
all.
when we get our way out of Whitebrand, huh?
So,
Hey, real quick. I just cast Best Friends on the librarian.
You cast what?
Best Friends.
Alright. I'm looking this up to get the details of the spell.
It's a fun one.
I'm gonna give Val a look. I need you to talk to me.
I'm concentrating on a spell at the moment.
Oh, it's a concentration spell.
It is.
Damn it.
I really can't believe you did that, John.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't believe Lauren's rolling with it the way she is, too.
John, you can see Jordan's face, right?
The sadness.
No, it's not sad, man.
That's pissed off, bro.
Uh-huh. I know that look.
Like you just shot a dog.
I'm playing like you.
I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Jojo, too.
He like, totally stuck it in there, and then I was like, oh, not cool.
Jordan, that's the
Now-
look that threw a rock at my head.
And the stamp
To be
overrides the
completely
legal
fair,
Did you see it
documentation.
mine?
What?
That's completely fair. That is something Casator would have done as well.
No!
Yes, you totally would
The
have.
most important thing that Queso has done since we've been journeying together.
You get in the way of him discovering about his sister's whereabouts, dude.
Just after you were like, bro, I want to see the happy reunion.
See, here's the difference. It's, hey, I want to go in with you. And he's like, hey, deuces, Halberd, you've traveled with me and we've been through death and back together. And I'm going to pick this fake elf over you in the process. So,
Before we
picking
get
the person
too
who could-
invested into that, Fast Friends, the wisdom save throw, comes to 4.
This is not,
So
no.
What is it? What is the task that you're giving her?
Let's see. All right, I'm gonna try this. Because it lasts up to an hour. Okay, so task number 1. Could you please stamp the hand of my friend Casator here?
Oh, I would certainly, for my best friend. Absolutely. I do need to see that pass again, please.
Yes, sir.
Pass?
She looks at it. Oh no, this already has 2 stamps active for it. Yeah, let me try. Let me see if it'll work. Let me do what I can. And she takes it. She takes the stamp and takes the back of your hand and stamps down. And there's ink, but it's not clear. The date and the time that had been stamped so clearly on Rye and Halberd's hands is smudged and dark, and some of the glisten to the ink that seems present on the other stamps is lacking. Does it Oh no, the magic won't work. I'm so sorry.
Is there a ward that would prevent him from entering?
Oh yes, it's a restricted section. Of course there are protections.
Okay.
He will be lit on.
Is
there
this a
anything
ward that could be quickly or easily taken down for a little bit?
Oh no, that'd be terribly dangerous. Oh my gosh.
Rye, guess what? We're gonna get the book heist! Yay!
Is there a pendant or something that the employees wear to gain access?
Yes, that.
Each question you ask that she wouldn't normally answer for someone, I've been making wisdom saving throws, and the highest on any of those that she's rolled is a 6. Just so you know. I guess, as a matter of fact, we do each have a pendant that we wear. It permits us freely access the sections that we need to.
Would you mind if my friend borrowed that for a few minutes? I promise he'll give it back.
Well, I suppose if it's only for a few minutes, please. I don't want to lose my job. It's.
I promise it will only be for a short while.
You promise?
I promise.
I'm gonna lose this poor NPC her job.
I know, right?
I'm gonna try not to. Go bad.
Because you asked. I suppose. And so she takes this necklace off, and it's a fine golden chain. And there is actually a small symbol of iron carved into a coin-like pendant that had been tucked beneath her shirt. So she takes it and pulls it off of her head. Do be careful with it, please, and hands it to you.
Of course. I put it on, and we will head towards the thing. I'm gonna look over at Val and say, "What happens in an hour?"
In about an hour, she'll regain her control of herself, and she'll know exactly what just happened. So
we need to.
By that time, it would be by that time it would be great if we were not here.
And I'm probably never getting back in here. This is great.
While that conversation's going on, I'm leaning over to Halberd. What's the likelihood she might be able to switch that out with something else?
What do you mean, switch what out?
Switch that pendant out with maybe another charm similar in size.
I mean, I can do my level-headed best to help you out, my friend.
Might be useful in the future.
We'll head into the.
She might be able.
I will.
Alright, time is of the essence, children, so let's go.
Alright. So Val,
Okay, so
you're at about 57 minutes left on the spell. So keep that in mind as y'all are going.
Now, will I be able to go look at a couple books while I'm concentrating, or is that concentration going to need me to stay in focus?
I believe that you'll be able to maintain concentration. If you get startled or interrupted, I may have you make a Constitution saving throw, but it won't just end. You'll have the chance to make the throw, unless the duration goes up and the spell is over.
Alright, all I'm going to look for is, I'm going to go to whatever religious sections I can find and find any books on both Sanin and the Traveler.
Alright. We'll get to that in just a minute. The three of y'all with passes to get into the restricted section. So the two with stamps and Kazator with attendants. As you go through the doorway to get into the back room, there is a ripple in the air of magenta and gold. This arcane force that you feel. The stamp on your hand lights up. There's a resonating effect as you each pass through it. And as you emerge on the other side, the ink appears smudged. There is this slight glisten to the ink itself. Kazator, your pendant is fine. You feel a little bit of a slight resistance, almost like a catch in your step, but you make it through to the other side, no problem.
Cool.
Does it seem like the resistance is only at the gate or inside as well? Is there a constant check, or is it only at the gate?
From what you have experienced, it's just been at the gate.
Okay.
All right, what are y'all
So,
looking for?
Casator, you want to take?
Is there anyone in here to like ask about like to find a specific book or anything?
You look around, and there is a small side room where you hear someone shuffling around fairly quietly, but the main chamber itself is just the three of y'all.
Casator, cover your hand, my friend. Like, where the stamp would be.
Well, I
That
have a
way no one
stamp.
sees.
It just wasn't
No,
magical.
you got a pendant.
I know, but I had her
Yeah.
stamp my hand. She tried to stamp it. It just wasn't magical. So once the
Okay,
magic
they-
He still
dissipated
has
from me,
ink smudged on his hand.
And I would like to cover mine just so it's not visible.
Okay.
Just in case.
Not too hard. You've got your long sleeve. You can sort of pull it down to cover the back of your hand a little bit and then obscure that.
I will bow to you and let you take point. I know this is important, but I have something I need to look up as well.
Oh, if you need to look up something, by all means,
Go.
do what you need.
Look now. Your family is here.
I'm pointing to Rye and saying, would you mind looking for anything that could tell us anything about the Underlord? And I am going to find out about this. Put notes away. The Veritas Folio.
I will look around for stuff about the Underlord. I'm also making note of any books that seem like they would be good to acquire.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Halberd, what are you looking for?
I want to look up elder symbols located within the area or military group specifically regarding the Adzabak and my people group with the ruins that showed up on Doran's armor. Because that should not be here.
Okay. Those of y'all who are looking for things that you haven't already found, Doran and Silyax, y'all don't have to make this check because you know exactly where you were. Doran knows where the book is and he can go find those real quick.
We're off on doing our own.
Say what?
I just said we're off doing our own thing.
You are, but we'll get to you in just a minute.
Yeah.
The rest of y'all go ahead and make investigation checks.
Did you say investigation? Sorry.
Investigation. What was that, Halberd?
He's looking.
Okay.
18.
Ryan.
17.
Hazeltor?
Oh, I was going to go in and talk to the individual. Do I need to roll one?
Oh, nope, you're fine.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and
Oh, is that cool? Because I would have done that. Right.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, Casator, you head in to the side room, and it seems to be some sort of transcription area where there are multiple stations set up where it seems to be designed for arcane users to come and find various spells to add to their spell book. There's a small shelf of books in here that are looks like some sort of hand-me-down spell books from various wizards that have been donated to the library or assigned here. And there is an individual who's at the desk, one of the desks, muttering to themselves. This individual is human, fairly short, dark hair, pulled back just off of the face, wearing a blue tunic and facing away from you.
Let's see. Good afternoon, sir.
This figure turns around. It's hard to tell whether it's actually a sir or a man. Good afternoon.
It's a Sam.
Didn't correct me, so. Yes, was looking for a particular book. I was hoping you might help me. That I was told was here. The Veritas Folio.
Not what I'm familiar with. Classified folios and journals are usually third shelf up from the door on the left-hand side. Try there. If not, check the back wall with other damaged papers.
I do that.
I love this person.
I'm very unimpressed with your question there, dog.
It's okay. It means I'm flying under the radar, which is better.
So they go back to work fairly quickly, just sort of ignoring you. You head up to
Like dollar store Fabio vibes going on with this win.
the front section that they mentioned first, or to the back?
We'll start with the front.
Okay. You go, and there are half a dozen various almost very casually bound journals or folios. Some of them are wrapped in leather. Some of them are just papers that are stacked on top of each other or tied with a piece of twine. They are all arcane in nature. Or no, I take that back. All but two are arcane in nature. These other two, you can't tell. These are the two that have the covers on them. As you approach, there does seem to be some arcane protection around each of them individually. To prevent people from just taking one off the shelf. The two that you can see are not immediately sort of arcane journals. The spell writings, various arcane glyphs and sigils. The two that are covered are, one is bound in leather, and one is bound in wood. The one in wood has a note to the side. It says, it basically instructs whoever takes it from the shelf to not speak unless they are certain of their question. The front of the binding of the wood has a face carved into it very roughly, with the eyes set as closed. The one to the left of it is a dark blue, is bound in dark blue leather. It's tied with a string of black sort of cord, and there is a sort of a small dark brown spot right in the center of the cover.
It was what on the cover?
A small dark brown spot set right into the center of the cover.
And that's the leather-bound one.
And that's the leather-bound one.
Okay.
You rule out the four that don't have covers pretty quickly. They're spells of some kind.
Okay. But you said that I can't take them off the shelf?
There seems to be some sort of arcane protection. You haven't tried to take them off the shelf, and you could, if you wanted to. You could try, that is.
I will just, over my shoulder to the gentleman, excuse me, sir, am I allowed to remove these from the shelf?
He looks back, or this person looks back at you. The name's Lindus.
Lindus?
If you're allowed to take it off the shelf, the spell will let you.
Excellent.
Don't
Thank
ask stupid questions. And then they go back to their work.
Just making sure there wasn't a limit and I pulled the wrong one first. I will grab, I'm going to try to pull off the leather one first.
Okay. There is a brief sort of golden glow as you pull it from the shelf, but you can lift it.
Okay.
You can take it off. It is bound. It does not open at your touch. Not immediately.
I don't see any markings that were concealed within the shelf of what it might be.
Make a perception check.
Perception is good. That's a 23.
23. You don't see any markings or writings. There doesn't seem to be any description of this particular file. But there is a needle that had been situated under the book. Silver, pointy.
I grab it and I poke the dot on the front of the book.
Nothing happens.
Do I see where this needle might be inserted to the book or anything?
It does not. As you're sort of inspecting and looking it over, you do realize that this dark brown spot on the front of the book is about thumb-sized.
Oh, okay. I prick my finger and put it on the book.
All right. You prick your finger, and you put the blood, you press the blood to the book, and the cord unties itself, and the front cover flips open, and you do see the front page is a letter from one... Hold up, let me pull my notes for this one. One Celator Veritas, describing a set of 4 arcane journals, I guess, a binding spell that has been split into 4 parts and scattered, and it instructs the receiver of this journal to give it to the one for whom it was meant.
This binding spell, is it like to bind a creature, like a humanoid?
Make an Arcana check as you're looking a little bit more in depth into this. You're investigating the journal. You're trying to get a feel for what this binding spell might actually do, and you realize this is going to take some time.
Okay.
You know you're running short on time.
Right.
You've probably only got about 45 minutes left of the spell.
Right. Okay, so first I'm making what Arcana you said? No, I'll put
Arcana.
I think that's like a 10 at best. Yeah, 10.
It is really hard to tell. You do see some arcane sigils that remind you of a basic dominate spell, but it's much more complex. There's a lot more to it, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time looking into this more, and it's made more difficult because this is not the complete spell. This is only a section of the instructions for it.
Okay, I will tuck that under my arm, and I'm going to try to pull off the other book, the wooden one with the eyes.
Okay.
It said, like, beware the question or whatever. Make sure you know your question.
You pull the wooden book off the shelf. There's another flash of light, and you hold it in your hands, and you realize after it's off the shelf, the cover has changed. There is an open face, like the eyes are open, the lips are slightly parted. What do you do?
I glance back over at the sign that said, can you tell me the wording again of the plaque?
Know your quest, or I can't find it anymore. Where'd my paper go? Basically,
right there.
know what you want to ask before you speak. Know your question before you speak.
I say, where is my sister?
Okay. The eyes begin to glow gold. The mouth opens, and Linda sort of looks over his shoulder, sees what you're holding in his hands, and starts just swearing under his breath. He gets up and leaves the room as the eyes continue to glow. They transition into a brighter white light. And as it reaches this very intense light, you hear this voice start to echo around you. Your sister is trapped. She is bound in an extraplanar dimension. The key is split. It must be brought together to free her.
Wait, Kister, did you know this? Why are you saying you sound like
Because as soon as I opened the Celator Veritas book that said there was a 4-part binding spell, I knew that they trapped her.
Who's they? Oh my god.
The them.
You're not there. You don't know.
I know.
Right?
Oh my gosh!
Bright light starts shining from the room where Kazator has been this whole time. It's glowing golden at first and increasing in intensity. We'll get to Kazator back here again in just a minute. Kazator, real quick, the book starts, the
Roll
light starts
initiative.
to diminish, and then the voice rings out again. One question has been asked. One question remains. We'll come back to that in just a second.
I have so many questions.
You only get to ask one.
You don't know. He doesn't get to ask.
I don't get any, but Jordan, what is going on, man? Forget all other quests. Forget all other quests. We need to figure out. Case4, you gotta tell us everything. I want to figure this out.
Yeah.
Who cares about Tiamat? Let's go find Case4's sister.
You're not there, Solyx. Halberd. 18 investigation check looking for the runes in particular and anything about the Azurback in general. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You go and you find a couple of tomes on basically various elven biographies in this world. You find some histories connected to elves and their fight during the Shattering. About 600 years ago, how basically the largest conflict in this world's history, or in this world's recent history at least, not a lot of what you're finding connects to anything that you have frame of reference for. The runes don't show up. There's no record of them that you can find here. And there's nothing about the Azurback by name that you're able to discover in this time that you're looking.
No, by name, but would there be things that would actually sound incredibly similar, or things that are parallels, if you will, or even mysteries and rumors of things that would fall in line?
The most you find is tales of elven forces, even elite elven forces, as part of these historical tales of old conflicts.
But nothing that would actually even correlate over.
Nothing that you're familiar with from your history, no.
Gotcha.
And this is you flipping through books fairly quickly, trying to find any mention of anything, and it's just you're flipping through and you're looking and you don't see anything that sticks out to you. Rye, you were looking for any books that might be particularly interesting, or any that are specific to the Underlord, right?
Yes.
All right, and yours was 17?
Yes.
Okay. You're going through, and in this particular section, you're not finding a whole lot that relates to the Underlord in particular. You do find a couple of bestiaries and folios that contain details of interesting creatures, of aberrations or fiends. There's a particularly interesting journal about the Fae and the various courts and the powers of some of the major players there. But anything that might sort of reference the Underlord seems to be gone. There's just no mention of that you can find. As far as other journals or books that might be interesting, one of the big ones that catches your eye is you do find a tome of clear thought. There is a date on it, and based on the time you've spent in this world, you think that's probably coming up within the next week or so. You find a couple of spell books. There's an elementary spell book that seems a little interesting for you, although you know a fair number of the spells in it already. But it contains things like Magic Missile and Sealed, Invisibility and Misty Step, Fireball, Counterspell, Haste. There are some other more advanced spell books that contain things like Bigby's Hand, Adelaide's Resilient Spear, polymorph, dominate monster, a number of these spells that you've heard of but haven't actually gotten a chance to study very much.
How interesting that was.
Fireball!
I'm going to mentally remember where they are while it looks like I'm actually looking for stuff on the Underlord.
Okay. So you go ahead, and as you're cruising through, you're doing pretty much the same as Halberd. You're looking through various indices and tables of contents and different titles to see if anything catches your eye. Apart from the few manuals and tomes and folios about the various creatures that I described, you're not really finding a whole lot.
That's okay.
Alright. By this point, you'll have both been interrupted a little bit by this white bright light, this figure coming out of the room and just leaving, and then a voice, muffled, you can't really make out what it's saying, but this reverberating voice by Kazafar, the room where he's in. You don't let it concern you too much because you're still very intent on what you're also researching, but you make a note of it. You know that it happened. Soyuz and Doran.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
The two of y'all are back in the sort of mythological, historical legend section.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You do find the tome that you were looking at earlier. You'd sort of bookmarked it so you could find it again easily. These about the legendary weapons and Zelisar and the tales. Is that right?
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to talk to him about, was if he knew anything about it, since, he lives here and I don't.
Do I know anything about it?
As a matter of fact, yes, you would have grown up with many of these tales.
Because that guy Zelisar, he was a Dragonborn dude, and
he was a brass Dragonborn in the time of the Shattering. He was one of the great heroes of the.
I have written down here that he was Bahamut's #1 gold boy. So, yeah.
Do I recognize the name or in like the location where it says he's buried? Any of that sound familiar? Besides just him being a hero of the war.
Say what?
He's just besides just being a hero of the war. Anything else pop out?
He was renowned for his might in battle. He was a close friend of the Arbiter of the time, historically, at least according to the tales, part of this elite fighting group. Essentially the Arbiter's own corollary to their fighting party, who would go on the adventures and accomplish these great tasks. And Zelisar was the swordsman of this particular group. There were others associated with it, including an archer and a monk of some kind, who were also part of these great tales. That part's a little fuzzier for you. It didn't interest you as much. But the fact or the rumors of their tomb being in the Scorchlands is new to you. You've never had any sort of rumor or confirmation of where they might be buried or where their weapons ended up. They were just lost to the ages.
Well, this is quite interesting, Doran. I had heard of these people, but I had no idea where they could be entombed or anything like that. But, I mean, they were quite legendary in their time.
Well, I figured I'd bring it to you and ask you about it because, you live here, but, if this is something worth looking into or rather, if it's worth actually trying to find these weapons,
I mean, these were
craftsmen of my caliber. I'd very much like to find them and study them at the very
these
least.
were legendary heroes, so their equipment in itself is also legend. Now, whether or not it's actually magical, or them who wielded it had power, it's unknown. But
That's fair.
we are hardly anything if definitely not legends, and your axe alone could be a legend of its own. So I'd imagine
Maybe someday.
legendary heroes would have something that could be of interest and worth looking into. I'm not sure it's worth posing to the others. I mean, I am definitely curious just for the discovery itself. I mean, they have been lost, and now you seem to have found a possible resting place for these well-known individuals.
I figured you'd have some interest in it, though, since it seems he was a Bahamut follower, or whatever he was.
He was a friend of the Arbiter at the time, so it would be as if you and those that we travel with had been buried down at the end of a great war. So it's his rumored friends that were with him. Who knows what they could have had? I do know one of them was an archer, so perhaps we could find something for halberd that might allow him a little greater accuracy.
Then, maybe not right now, but perhaps on the back burner we have this little side quest, little side trip we go on.
I think, it would be worth next time, perhaps this evening, mentioning it to everybody and seeing their thoughts on it. It could be worth it just for improved equipment, if there is any there. If nothing else, it's the historical nature. If we can actually find it, we could have Val send a message just to Rai, because I'm sure Dragonthrone would love to know the location of these legendary heroes.
That would be good. I figured Casator too, he likes knowledge.
Casator likes anything that piques his curiosity.
That's fair.
You could tell him there was a squirrel graveyard of 1,000 squirrels, and he would think, that's interesting, why'd they bury 1,000 squirrels? And he would go look it up.
I really wanted to go into the mausoleum at the graveyard, remember that? So,
yes. Yes,
magical
I remember that quite well.
graveyard, that's for sure.
It was a very bad place. This is quite interesting. Have you been able to find any more information about these individuals?
This is pretty much all I've got right now.
Well,
and it seems that the sword, what did I write down here? The sword, the halberd, and the armor. The weapon, not the person. When those three are together, apparently they're far more powerful combined. Like a fantasy magical Voltron sort of thing.
Well, that is quite interesting.
It seems like we have some fun little toys to play with.
So, while they're all researching...
Very curious about seeing these. Anyway.
While they're all researching, I would like to spend whatever time we're here trying to find out more information about these people and what they carried and where they could be. Like, is there anything else stating about where they were laid to rest and anything like that?
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
I don't like it. I don't like any of these. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. That was 17.
17. So you spend the rest of the time, and it's only a fairly small section in this journal that talks about it. You do get a little bit more time to read and go through it, but reading is not really Celiax's strong point. So he struggles a little bit with the older language and the style of the writing. He does come up with the names of two of the other companions. There is the archer, who is an elf named Belar, and there was a fighter of some type named Fiera. And they are both also rumored to have been part of this, and that you're not really sure if it's their bodies or their weapons or their armor or some sort of memorial, but there's some connection there to this tomb in the desert also. You're not able to find any more information about the tomb itself, just that it's in the heart of the Scorched Lands.
Okay.
That sounds enticing.
Yes, it does. Well, all right. Yeah, I guess we'll just research what we can.
I'll look for that. There were some other books that I had also found last time. I want to go get the. I want to find that one about different metals and materials and read up on the like properties of like magical metals and stuff like that.
So you go and you find the book.
Yeah.
You're getting to be fairly familiar with this particular section, so I'm not even going to make you roll for it.
Oh, okay.
But the
Book I had last time I was here anyway. Just didn't get to read it.
yes. So you go and you find this these books, and it's talking about various metals that things are can be forged out of, and magically in particular, what catches your interest is probably the adamantine.
I forgot that was a metal in fantasy.
It's an alloy of adamant, silver, and electrum. It's black, and it has a clear green sheen to it in low light or candlelight. And it can sharpen to sort of almost a purple-white luminescence under the light given off by most magical effects. So that catches your eye, and you find a few rumors, not very much, a very short section of the book indeed, but a few lines about mithril. It describes it as a silvery blue shining metal that's derived from a soft, glittery silver black ore. It's supposed to be very, very rare and very valuable.
Okay. What was the adamantine made out of? I missed that part.
It's an alloy of adamant, silver, and electrum.
Okay.
As a smith, you know electrum is itself an alloy of silver and gold.
So it's like doubled up on the silver. Because you said adamant.
Adamant, silver, and electrum.
Yeah.
And electrum itself is a natural alloy of silver and gold.
Okay. That's good to know. And those are good for magic stuff.
Yes.
Yay. Especially when like you need to link materia and you have to get the right slots on the right armor.
Exactly.
Dude, I've been playing Remake. It's so good.
Anyway, we'll talk more later.
So good.
Val.
Oh god.
You were looking for information about Sanctum and the Traveler. Did you roll investigation for me?
I have not yet, but I can.
Please do.
That is a 23. Natural
23. 20. Nice. So you find...
Doing good today.
You find the section fairly quickly of various religions and deities and the mythologies and the a number of books about them. Shenanigans is actually not too terribly difficult to find anything about. And you're flipping through, and it seems that here at least the aspect of her that's most well known is that she is the goddess of illusions and mysticism. That she is cloaked in secrets and rarely speaks her mind directly, preferring to communicate through dreams, visions, or other mystic experiences. And you're familiar with this, both on a personal and a professional level, shall we say. There's not a lot that you read about Shenanigans that is new to you. A reminder that her power waxes and wanes with the phases of the moon, and that she is strongest when the moon is full. That often she will task her clerics with retrieval of lost arcane and magical knowledge, especially if it pertains to illusions or divination, and that they're kind of her ambassadors to various elven enclaves across the world. You're going through and you're finding a fair bit about planning, about Coralon, about Bahamut and the Raven Queen. You find some about Moradin and Ayun, and you find a lot. There's a large section here about Paelor and Arathis. And you find a very small volume, handwritten with a dark green leather cover, tucked between two of the other journals here, about the Traveler. You're reading through, and it's taking a little bit of time because the text here is handwritten, and it's not great handwriting. It seems to be written very, almost casually, in an informal, descriptive approach. It's talking about all the benefits and basically evangelizing the Traveler. And there's a series of pages at the back that are perforated that seem designed to be torn out almost and given away. And that is definitely very evangelistic in nature. But you do find out that the Traveler is sort of the patron of shape changers and changelings, that he is a catalyst for chaos and change and transformation. He is open to all who embrace change, whether physical or philosophical. And he's the patron of social misfits, those outside of the standard social order, those who don't fit.
All right. Having done my research, I'll put the books back and head towards back towards the restricted section.
By this time the spell is almost up. You've got probably between 5 and 10 minutes left, and that's it.
All right. Have I seen the golden flash of craziness yet?
You did not. It doesn't seem to have made it out of the restricted section. For whatever reason, those of y'all in the public section of the library weren't aware of it happening. We'll get back to you in just a moment, because Kazator had one more question if you chose to use it.
Gotta use it, but what?
So he's thinking when I would have got to the restriction section, I was going to send him a message while he's thinking of his question.
Can you do that without breaking concentration?
Yep.
Yeah, message is not a concentration spell.
Sweet. But I can't see Kasator's screen, so I don't know if y'all can or if it's just me.
I can see him.
Yeah, I see him.
Yep, I see it.
Damn it.
Just you, Jonathan, you're special.
Payment for what you did to him.
I'm also curious, would it have been obvious Val's casting this spell on her and knowing what was going on? Because I went under the assumption that I would not have known. So I'm just curious.
Fairly obvious. He was not subtle about his spell casting. That's not one of the things within his wheelhouse. So there were
vocal only though.
Okay.
So
you did hear him say something pretty clearly, and then there was a fairly clear switch in attitude. That she was suddenly a lot more helpful and a lot friendlier than she had been just a moment before.
And every time she answered a question, she rolled a dice for some reason.
Exactly.
I'm also assuming Halbert's probably familiar whenever I hypnotized and charmed that other person when we went to the Golden Cog.
All well and good.
So Val, did you say you're sending a message to me? Or to Kasator?
Yeah, when I got to the restricted section, if I couldn't see you, since I can't go in there, I was going to ask you how things are going.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, Val, it's weird. There's this, there's the restricted section there, and the door's right there, and there's nothing covering the door, but you can't quite see through it.
Yeah, then I'm
Like a
definitely
one-way
sending
mirror.
a message.
Say what?
I said then I would definitely be sending a message
Okay. Who are you sending it to?
to Quesator, asking how it's going. Short message.
See, you don't got a VIP pass. You can't go back in the club.
No, I don't. I'm not special.
You could
I use all
try.
my tricks just to get Quesator in. Thanks, Albert.
I will respond to your message. It's telepathically, right? Essentially, it's not out loud.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. I will say, it's good. Random question. If you could ask any one question and have it answered, what would it be?
And then the book says,
That's why I made sure it wasn't out loud, because I didn't want to say that and have the book answer it and be like, dang it.
you think the book can't read minds?
I am hoping.
It's okay. I actually looked up the spell itself to make sure, because it's the target and only the target hears the message and can reply in a whisper that only the caster can hear. Got lucky.
Yeah. I'll send another message then. Well, depending on your first question, I would probably ask how to accomplish whatever your most important goal is.
I'm not sure how he knows there's a first question, but I'll take it.
He doesn't know there's a first question. So, how to accomplish what your most important goal is?
Yeah, that's. I kind of know the answer to that, and I don't know exact. I know I've got to break these figure out these 4-part binding spell. I don't know what to
Are you telling me this?
No, I'm just talking out loud as Jordan right now, trying to think. I don't know. I figured the message is probably too limited. Too limited to go back and forth on this.
Wait, so if I said, ask how to accomplish your most important goal. Also, we may have a way to sneak books out.
Great.
Hurry up,
Val,
running out
you're down
of
to
time.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Can you dimension door with a book?
If the spell protecting the area lets me
The
through.
magic room is going to say no.
Yeah.
I was just curious about. I guess you can't dimension items.
You can do it with items, but I'm either gonna.
Seals things.
I was gonna say I'm either gonna reappear with no book, or it's gonna completely block my dimension door.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about that. I was just thinking about with the book.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was.
Tell me Gray when
Again,
she remembers that she had a
if only
spell
I were
cast on
standing
her.
there holding a magic box that seals books inside.
Ian's face says, "I'd love to see you try."
I know, right?
I have a thought, but we're not having that conversation at the moment.
4 minutes.
Ask me the question, Jordan.
I'm gonna take a quick glance back at the Veritas folio that's under my arm while I'm still holding the other book, and just the letter said that from Celator mentioned there's a binding, some sort of binding spell. It's in 4 parts and they're hidden, right?
That's what you're asking the book? Or is that
No. I'm asking the DM. Is that what the letter said?
Yes.
The letter said there's a binding spell. There's 4 parts and the parts are hidden.
I don't think the letter said that there was in 4 parts. I may have put that in there. But yes, you know that they are in 4 parts and that they are hidden, yes.
Okay.
Either the letter or the book told you so.
Okay.
And I'll have to go back and rewatch this video to find out which one.
Okay. Good enough. So I will ask the tome. I don't want to get greedy and get a vague answer. Okay.
Oh, he knows me well.
If I try to get too much, I get a lot of not helpful. Okay, I will just ask it. Where can I find the first part of the binding spell holding my sister?
Okay.
Ooh.
Womp womp
More
womp.
specific. Because I was wanting to say, where can I find all 4 parts? And it was going to be like, on this world or something, and just be like,
Okay.
The book's just like, nah, they're over here and over there. You'll figure it out.
yeah. What are the XYZ coordinates of each?
To the north, south, east, and west, you will
Well, I
find.
guess they'll be X, Y, and Z because I need to know plane and spatial dimension.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
So-
sorry.
A, B, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3.
Something like that.
Alright. On Vondera, near Red Rock, there's a mountain. In a cave within the mountain, the journal is guarded. Defeat the guardian, and the key is yours.
I think that is the most specific answer we have ever got out of our DM in the history of ever.
Okay. For my sake, on what was the first place, the planet or whatever it was?
Vondera.
Vorterra?
Vondera.
Vondera. On Vondera,
I heard
near Red Rock, there's a mountain
Decided.
with a cave.
Yes.
Defeat the guardian and get the key.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. I am putting that back on the shelf, and with the Veritas folio, I am, pun intended, booking it out of there.
Nice. You go and see Ryan Halbert in the main room. You head towards the door with the folio under your arm. The necklace, the pendant warms against your skin. There's that brief, almost cat's in your step as you pass through the doorway, and you emerge
With the book?
with the folio.
I'm really curious if it's because I'm supposed to have it or if the necklace thinks I'm an employee and so it let me take it. And I don't know, but I'm grateful either way.
Gift horse, mouth, quit.
Do you want to stick it in the box?
Ooh, the magic book box.
You're down
Yes.
to probably 2 minutes before the spell wears off.
I put it in the box and I run back over and I give her this. Thank you so much for your
Hey,
kindness.
who has the box, though?
And we'll keep this between us because I would not want you to lose your job over this. And hopefully
I'm
that means
so
she
glad
will
to be of assistance. I'm quite pleased, and thank you so much for returning it promptly.
Absolutely.
That's such a kind thing.
a wonderful rest of your day, and I leave.
Oh,
I'll be
thank you very much.
right behind him.
Yeah, seeing everybody suddenly just leave, I'll go, oh, Dorn, I do believe we need to leave. They're all rushing out the door.
Oh, God.
I did have
They
one
don't-
thing as we were waiting for Casey Core to come out. I was going to ask her if a book were removed from the restricted section, what would happen?
Oh, well, if a book is removed from the restricted section, well, to put it simply, books aren't removed from the restricted section unless it's by an employee. Employees can take them, and there's absolutely no repercussion. It's part of the matter. Those who are not employees and lack the protections, well, we only just cleaned up the last mess, so well, please don't take that wrongly, but please don't take books out of the restricted section.
As Rye walks out with the book.
I don't actually have anything in my
I
hand.
know. I really wanted to take the question book and just like pass it around the group, but I was like, that seems.
Speaking of the question book, as you put it down, the face, the eyes shut, the mouth closed, and this voice reverberated one more time. All questions have been asked, and now I slumber. And then it lost all sense of the arcane to it. It seems much more mundane at that point.
I respect the library's book.
Yep, time to leave. Definitely time to
Why
leave.
would you leave that on a shelf and not use it? Oh well. Thanks, library. I'm gonna keep an eye out for the guy that ran out of the room when I was using that book, and just see if I notice him on the way out.
The rapid way out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to go see a half elf about a thing.
Make a perception check just to see, because with your passive perception you don't actually see him, but we'll see if
Okay.
you get better than that.
Well, then I gotta roll really high. That actually is better.
Higher than a 10, technically.
Yeah, you're just higher than a 10.
My passive is 18.
Right. But that's 10 plus your perception. So if you roll
I
11
see
plus
what you're saying.
perception.
Yes, and I rolled a 14, so 22.
Okay. You don't see him. You don't see any sign of him.
Okay.
I believe. So we're all scurrying outside.
All right. Rye, you've been very quiet about this whole process. As you're leaving, describe to me how this is going.
Do I see anybody around me?
I believe Halbert said he had already left. Is that right? Halbert, have you already left?
I mean, I thought she was with me, but yeah, I was on the way out.
Okay, so
Because I
Halbert
was there with
followed
Casey
Kay's door.
Right, but is anybody else watching me?
Nope. You're alone in
Nobody.
the room.
Am I pretty hidden? Like, how easy is it for people to see me?
You can see out of the doorway very clearly. You see Val there, talking with the librarian at the desk. You've seen Kazator and Halberd and this weird guy, or this weird humanoid who had already headed out some time ago. You don't see anybody paying any particular attention to you.
Oh god. Okay. I will pick up a couple of those books and wander a little bit further back so I'm a little bit more out of sight.
Okay.
And if there's some place that looks particularly clear, I'm gonna try and dump them in the chest real quick.
Put them in the chest. Put them in the chest.
Okay.
Yes.
Look, hi.
This is the trunk that you summon, is that right?
Yes.
And then bye, go to another plane. And then you I love it.
And that's how Ride exploded.
No, she can just like shove the chest through and see
The
what
chest
happens.
is in another plane.
Right, I was wondering about
Just
something
do
like
what
that.
it
but that
wanna
would
be.
It's on the ethereal plane.
That's another plane.
There's
I
an
love this so
explosion
much.
into a plane.
Have to check and see how spells interact here, magical effects, just checking things.
We are so getting kicked out of this town.
Ideally, we're gonna leave it as soon as we can talk to this half elf.
I mean, we're gonna be gone by the end of this episode. What are y'all on about? We're totally gonna get out of here after our second trip to the dadgum library.
The travelers will fix
A few
the
days-
optimism.
A few days later, we're on our 8th trip to the library.
Okay.
Charming everybody.
So, Rye, you put the books in the chest, and you
Oh, I am able to get it?
say what?
Go, keep going. Just keep going. I'm not questioning you.
You send the chest back to the ethereal plane, and you start walking, and you walk through the door, no problem. And then you hear a thump behind you. And your trunk has pressed up against the doorway, and there's almost a sparking sort of effect. There is a almost spectral glow that's occupying the doorway itself.
I'll call over to the librarian who's working with Val and be like, oh darling, what's this?
something must have activated the wall of force. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
This is quite troublesome. What's a 2, by the way? Oh, yeah, can I assist at all? And she comes over. She's got the pendant back on. And she walks over, and you know you've got a minute, maybe, left on this spell, Val. It's running out very quickly.
Book heist.
I will.
See the title of this episode. Book heist.
Shenanigans at the library.
Yeah. Oh,
Book heist.
I'm gonna try and use hypnotic gaze.
She's already under.
Okay.
She's already under mine.
For a minute, and she only knows that's connected to Val, not me.
And Val has not told her to do anything at all.
But she just asked if you needed
No,
help.
actually, I have. All I've told her to do is hand that charm over to Kid for.
And then you ask her questions, and she's friendly towards you through the whole thing. But you haven't given her any tasks to help Rye at all. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Hypnotic
So-
gaze. Let's see. That's a wisdom save.
Yes.
Val, are you able to tell her just to listen to what Rye has to say as she's
Yeah,
charmed
Rye was
by
telling
you?
me what she was doing.
That's a 7.
Oh my
Yes, that
god.
fails. So I'll look at her and be like, I'm so sorry, darling. You know, I carry a lot of things for my patient. Maybe if you can just help me bring it out through the gate, I can just put it away, darling. Would you be able to help me with that?
Oh, certainly. Just one moment. And so she goes, and between the two of you, with her starting to shove it through the doorway, and the pendant on her chest, you see, is starting to glow, and it's starting to give these, as soon as she touches it, these spectral sparks are starting to fade a little bit out of the dish. And she's shoving it and trying to get her weight into it, trying to push it through the door.
I'm helping.
She rolls well. Managing to get it shoved through the door, and once it gets to a certain point, you can start pulling it also. And pretty quickly, within we'll say about 30 seconds, you manage to get the trunk all the way onto the side of the doorway. The wall of force is quiescent. You don't see any sparks or any sign that there was anything even wrong in the first place.
I will disappear that thing as soon as I'm able to. I'll be like, thank you so much, darling. I don't understand why I would have done that.
Less talking, more running.
I'm saying that as we're leaving.
It's quite confusing. It's been an interesting day around here, all told.
Oh, yes, darling.
Is there anything I can help you with? Oh,
I
please, you've been
think
such a delight.
Oh, goodness, it looks like my companions are leaving me for lunch. I must go. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, you have an excellent day. And as she's speaking, she sort of starts trailing off a little bit and starts looking over at Val.
Val is hightailing his ass out of there.
Wait. Just a moment. And she starts looking at you and looking who all is there and who all's not.
I'm gone.
Just so I...
Solex and Doran are gone, I imagine, but
I thought
also
all
she
gone
never,
by.
she never saw them with us.
Here's an important distinction. Sullyx and I, we went off and did kind of our own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
She
no,
don't-
we're fine.
We're good.
We're
Yeah,
Gucci, fam.
No, she doesn't associate the two of you with the other four at all.
But Solex is definitely leaving.
Oh, yeah, no. Seeing all this, no, I don't want to hang around either.
As soon as Quesator came out,
We're going
Val
to
was
Fantasy
like,
McDonald's and getting
"Now."
everybody lunch. We'll be back.
Oh man.
So there's this confusion as she's saying goodbye to you, and Ryan, you're starting to just walk away. And she's like, wait a excuse me. And she starts coming up from behind the desk. I'm sorry, that man put a spell on me.
I knew this.
Really?
I knew it was coming, and I'm so excited.
I can't believe this. Oh my goodness. You weren't this at all, I'm sure. I mean, you and I were such good friends. You wouldn't do something like this to me. Did you happen to catch his name? Do you know him at all?
I don't really. We had met over at the Temple of Ayun, and he just knew we were coming to the library, so he came with us. I'm so sorry, my dear.
Can I make a deception check real quick? I'd make it at advantage.
If you get, she gets a natural 20, watch.
24.
Okay.
Get out of there!
I mean, this hasn't been done. Who knew what he might have done? This is... Where was he? Did you see the books? I must go check the books. He hasn't downloaded them, I hope.
Oh, darling, I do think he went down that way, and I will point completely away from the rest of the books.
Oh, certainly. I should go check it out.
Yes, darling.
One thing to note with your hypnotic gaze, the charmed creature's speed drops to 0, and she's incapacitated and visibly dazed. So, like, she's swaying on her feet a little bit as she's trying to come around the counter.
I'll take her by the...
her to go, and she just cannot move.
I'll take her by the arms and be like, darling, this has been such a shock. Take a moment. Take a bit to breathe. It will be fine. It will be fine. And I'll like help her sit down for a minute and be like, just take a minute, darling. It's all right. I will leave you be. Just take a minute to breathe, and I will leave.
Okay.
Run away!
As soon as you get more than
Never
5
going
feet
back to
away
his
from where
library.
the effect ends,
Yep.
she's sitting down, and there's another wave of confusion and almost shock that passes over her face. Like, what is going on? I'm dead. Oh my goodness! And she's like, wait, excuse me! Come back here! I have questions! And she starts getting up, and you're walking away, and you hear her trying to click, clack in her little feet, coming after you. What are you doing?
See, this would be when you cast Fireball.
Yes, burn all those.
Fireball in the
That's
library.
Completely.
Just cast Blink and really mess with her day.
Is there an actual door to this library?
There is, yes.
I'm gonna go back to my library and then come out at a nearby temple.
Alright, you make it to the door. And from everybody else's perspective, you just vanish. You are gone. Like, a blink, you're there, a blink, you're gone. Like, no physical trace left behind. And you appear back at the library. At the library.
Snap.
Is there anything you want to do, any stop you want to make while you're here?
I'm assuming all of the people who are standing by our portal are used to this. Let me be like, hello, please let my cousin know I'm well, and if you see Alice, tell him to stop worrying, and I'll, like I said, just go to a nearby temple.
Yeah, you definitely recognize them. There's like, we'll give Steady your regards.
Thank you, darling. And by the way, I like that haircut.
Oh, thank you. You, can you tell?
Yes, darling, it looks fabulous on you. Really accentuates the eyes. Goodbye.
Oh my god.
And so you go and you pop back out at the Temple of Ayun, actually, that you visited earlier.
I'll just start walking over to where I know the tavern to be.
Okay. So you guys...
She could have saved us so much walking time this entire time. We could have been going all over this place like nothing.
Right, but you needed your steps, so...
Wasting time.
Also expelled.
So you guys, you are all out of the library, and Bryce doesn't follow. Like, you thought you saw her coming out of the doorway, and then she's just not there. She's not on the street. You do hear a little bit of commotion inside the library. There are some raised voices now.
You know what? She's caught up before. We're leaving. She knows where to meet us. Let's go. It's not the first time she left us.
As we make our way away, I will send Ryan a quick message to ask her where she's at.
So, go ahead and send her the message.
Right, we're making our way to the tavern. Where the hell are you?
Oh, I'm on my way, darling. I'll see you there.
Are you? Oh wait, crap! I can't do that. Never mind.
All right. As you are making your way, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening now. The sun is starting to go down as you're leaving the library. There's more activity on the streets. There's definitely a little bit larger of a population out. And you're making your way through the pull out my map here. You're making your way through Artist Alley and up into the Old Quarter. And you are preparing to meet Ryan heading up that way. And then, Halberd, what's your AC?
Hold on. 16.
16. Halberd, you feel almost like someone punched you in the back. There's this sensation of impact, and then a sharp, burning pain almost seems to spread where a crossbow bolt has seemingly sprouted from your shoulder. You go ahead and you take...
Okay, Stu, did you shoot him?
Is it on fire?
You just texted Lauren. No.
I would believe it. Did we hear thunder go off? We all
heard no thunder. Nobody else knows what's happening. Nobody has seen anything. Nobody, unless Halberd made a noise, y'all are still entirely unaware.
We all know that K-Store is impossible. He cannot attack stealthily because thunder damage.
Working to my benefit now.
Yeah.
So we don't even see the bolt
Let me
impact
tell you the weapon damage here for you real quick.
I mean, it's getting dark, so depending on where he was at in our...
But it straight up was a bolt I didn't hear.
Yeah, it was a straight up. He got shot with a crossbow bolt
to the back.
Great. Now we're getting in a fight, and our wizard. Oh, yay! Our non-fireball wizard isn't here. Oh no! What a great loss to all of us.
Wow, this will be fun to play. How will we do this over screen?
Oh my gosh. You take 29 points of piercing damage.
Jeez!
Hold up. Because you didn't see it coming, and it was a sneak attack, or a,
John, this is what surprised is. This is what surprised is.
29.
Oh my god.
58. That's 58 points of damage, plus, so 62, and an additional 6 points of poison damage. That's 68 damage total.
Okay, I have to imagine he would have made a noise at that point.
It's 68 total?
Bird, are you still conscious?
Mhm.
Okay. So you have just taken this attack. You
What the hell?
are not feeling too good, and you feel a freezing cold start to spread through your veins from the point of impact.
What?
And that's where we're going to go ahead and stop the session for today.
Oh, of course.
Why are you a
I'm gonna
terrible
peace out.
person?
Okay.
Good to see you guys. Thank you everybody for coming to join us on the adventure today.
On
This is
possibly
going to be
the-
interesting picking up from this point next week.
Where she one-shots the rest of the team.
Right?
Not... Okay, guys, I rolled 3 6s on that sneak attack dice.
Oh.
Plus a couple, and it was just... Wow.
That's
Oh.
1 point away from one shot and killing me.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
Because
one
it was
shot, not
68,
one
right?
68 total.
Good God.
I'm really glad I wasn't there because I would have been out.
Yeah, I rolled crazy good on the damage for that.
Yeah.
It'd be at 2 hit points.
That'd have left me at
So
1.
He's down.
Yay, assassins!
I have been okay, but I couldn't have taken another one.
Well, at that point, you're not surprised anymore. So we'll pick up with rolling initiative at the start of the next session.
Oh, sweet God.
I'm nowhere to be found. This is great.
That's gonna. Oh God. Hey, we're gonna.
Thank you for coming along and joining us with this adventure. We hope that y'all stay safe and enjoy the week, and join us again next week for what is sure to be shenanigans. We will figure this out, having some fun doing this on stream. Thank you for being patient with our tech issues. We'll get it figured out to the best of our ability. But y'all stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, all of that jazz. We love you very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.